Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you.
I was just doing a spiritual practice about having just a bit of a grin. And it's supposed to, improve your mood and make you feel happier and those around you happier too. So I like that. Thank you. I see that we have 12 people here instead of 10, and we're still okay. We're still alive. We're doing it. We're still healthy. I'm loving it. This is what I want to call divine timing, not Nicole's timing, because there was a time a few months ago where it was like, oh, we might be able to get back together. We might be able to reopen. We're like, oh, are we going to get to open? And Michael and I were like, let's not do it. And we're looking around, and then I think some opened for a minute and then they shut back down, or they have really big parking lots, so they do like the drive-through church thing. And then everything got shut down again. And I was adamant that like, no, I don't want to put us into any danger or harm. And then this is why it's divine timing. Because then Steve Hubner, the guy who does the sound for so many years, he strolls in here about 2 afternoons ago and he goes, oh yeah, I was talking to Bill Wolf and he was telling me that they're going to open and just have a few people come. And I was like, they are? Well, then we are too. And about 2 seconds after that, I emailed you guys and said, we're going to have 10 people here. That's when like, there was no hesitation. There was no like, I don't, because I'm like, I don't know how to explain. I'm like a mama bear. Like I will protect all of you, right? I'm like, stay away from them. And so if I ever felt like if something was gonna, so it just didn't feel right before. And it felt right now. And I thought, wow, isn't that a great lesson, Nicole? I can be a bit impatient at times because I want things to happen when I want them to happen. Or I'll push them, force them to happen, but I didn't. And here we are. And it's beautiful. And we're doing it well, safely together. So I will say though that I did pull out my my whiteboard with all my different Michael's gonna crack up with all my different dry erase markers to make my to-do list and the little circles. You check them off, and then I got like 18 items down. Before they get here, we have to have these things done. So I take a picture and send it to him and Florian, and Florian's like, oh, aren't you wonderful and crazy? And I said, oh, my dear co-senior minister, we have got some things to do. But there's, what is that called? Crickets? No sound. Okay. But he did come. He came over and helped. So Michael helped so much. Trevor Michael helped. And Tina, she has helped more than anything. She's helped so much all the time to keep this place looking nice and clean, and she helps with everything. So when you see her, just say thanks, or like give her a high five or whatever. So I did not get everything on my to-do list checked off because I wanted to give you guys coffee. This is how my brain works, okay? Well, you guys, because Florian goes, well, they're gonna expect refreshments and food. And I said, not. They don't even expect to be here. Yeah. And she's like, oh, okay. But then she gets in my brain. So then I'm like, well, if there's a Keurig, I could put a cup and I could put a pod and a cup in a bag with a thing and a thing. And I'm like, Nicole. Like, seriously. And then the sweet and sad thing about Tina is that she'll be like, okay, let's do it. And like, you don't want the two ADHDers. Anyway, we got this far, so this is good. So this is kind of the way my brain works. It likes to like go down these rabbit holes of things. And a lot of times it's pretty great, and sometimes, a lot of times it's pretty crazy too. So that's why this month our USA, our Understanding Our Spiritual Anatomy, is so supportive to me, and hopefully it will be to you too, because the anatomy of a thing is just studying the structure and components of it, right? So like, what are the real components of who we are? And yeah, what are the real components of that make up who we are? Because I know that the real components aren't all this, right? I know it's not all of our bodies and our crazy personalities or fun personality, whatever. It's not all the things that we have. It's so many things that are so much more complex that make up the anatomy of our spirit. And so this morning, we're actually looking at the anatomy of fear. And then next Sunday, we'll look at the anatomy of trust. And the last Sunday, we'll be looking at the anatomy of healing prayer. And I'm smiling at that one because that is in Ernest Holmes' book that I love very, very much. So what I found out was that there's 5 basic fundamental fears that we all have. But first, I'm just going to define fear for us. Fear is I say just, right? Fear is the feeling of anxiety when we are either anticipating or experiencing something. So listen, let me see if I said this right. Fear. It's an anxious feeling caused by our anticipation of something imagined, like an event or an experience. Okay. So fear is the feeling of anxiety, of anxiousness, in before a thing happens. Okay. So that means, like, here's a good example. Charlene, I told you guys she helped do all this, right? And we got one badass ladder. Let me tell you about this ladder. This ladder is like nobody's business. Did Chris Johnson get that ladder? Yeah, Chris Johnson got the ladder. Okay, and I'm scared of heights like nobody's business. No, I don't know how much immersion therapy I could work on me. I do not know. But there were times when I cared more about her than I did about me. And so I would be able to get up there. Or I care more about John than I do about me. So I would be able to get up there and change the light bulbs. But in general, I start shaking. I'm like, I'm gonna die. I'm like only 2 steps up. Oh my God, you know. That's anxiety in anticipation of one of the 5 basic fears, which is that first one, which is it's called extinction, right? One of our first basic fear is a fear of extinction. So anytime we're like scared of, oh, that bug, Tina was literally scared of the dead cockroach. And I was like, girl, come on. So anyway, you're scared of a cockroach. Why? Elimination, extinction, or a fear of death. I didn't know that I was afraid of death, but really everything comes from these 5 basic ones. So that first one is extinction, the fear of extinction. The second of our basic fears is the fear of mutilation, is that we all have a fear of like an arm, a leg, some part of our body being hurt or not okay, yes? And that can show up in all sorts of even tiny little ways. And then we have a fear of loss of autonomy. Who has that like really bad? Only me? Yeah. Yeah, I do not want to be one of those people who's all needy and has to have everybody else. I'm gonna end up like that, I know it, just because I said that right now. I'm gonna be one of those people who has to ring the bell so their kids can wipe their butt. That's okay, there's nothing wrong with that. It's my brain that tells me like, So that's one big fear, is the loss of autonomy. And then the 4th big fear that we all share is, what the heck is it? Oh, separation. So we want to be free to be ourselves and be by ourselves, but we're also deeply afraid of separation, of being abandoned, of everybody being over here while we're over here, right? Of silent treatment. Those are all different ways that fear of separation shows up. And that can be pretty tough. And then the last fear is the fear, it's called the ego dying fear, okay? And this is a really important one, and I want to touch on this one a bit because I think it's very supportive. There's 2 things that I've learned in my own personal spiritual growth, and that is, number 1, fear isn't false evidence appearing real. It is actually just information. Fear is information. Information coming from our body to let us know something. That's it. And then what we do with that is wherever we're at that time. And the other thing is that the ego, what I've learned, is not a bad thing. It's just a part of our being as we are being human. It's that personality of us. So the ego death, I want to read it to you, is it comes from this book. I love this book. It's called Practical Intelligence: The Art and Science of Common Sense, by Carl Albert Tick. Okay, so ego death: the fear of humiliation, shame, or any other mechanism of profound self-disapproval that threatens the loss of integrity of the self. The fear of the shattering or the disintegration of one's own construct and sense of lovability, capability, and worthiness. And this is a really big one, because this fear of ours to feel like possibly we might not be lovable, like that maybe our fear is right, like maybe those thoughts are right, they'll literally set us up to prove it to us. Like I would say, oh no, I'm not very good in social situations. So then you invite me out to lunch, you invite me to a party, and I say no, because guys, I have a fear that don't do well in social situations. So what do? I don't go. So then what do I feel? Separate and apart, right? And abandoned or whatever. That's kind of how this goes. And what I realized is that no one wants to feel ashamed. Nobody wants to feel shame. And it's not even a part of the truth of who we are. It's a conjured up idea that is so recent. There wasn't shame in the indigenous tribal times. They would be breastfeeding their children, and then one person would have to go get more water, and they'd hand their child to the other lady, and the other lady would start breastfeeding the child, and they go get the water, and they had to go do something, and they would go and hand the child to, and there was no shame. You know what I'm saying? It's a very recent experience, and this feeling of disappointing and not doing good enough. And I wanted to speak kind of candidly about this this section, this ego death fear. I don't know, I don't like that wording, but because I can feel it a lot right now. Either that or it's feeling me a lot right now, because as you all know, Reverend Michael and I are going through a new phase in our life, a conscious uncoupling / becoming friends again. And so I make light of it, but it's painful. And it's like, you know how you think if you're really good friends, like really good friends, then you may as well probably make really good husband and wife, right? Wouldn't you think that? That's what I would think. That's what I did think. That's what he thought too. But it turns out that he and I make really good best friends and really good co-ministers and not very good husband-wife people, which is why we can smile right now and be happy together and be here and hope that you still want us here. But at the same time, I get it and I feel the fear. I feel that ego fear, that scared fear, like what's gonna happen? How am I gonna have to choose sides? It reminds me of, has anybody watched the Gilmore Girls? Only one? Oh, well, Luke and Laura, they finally get together, and then the whole town has a town meeting because they say, well, you guys can't be together. Well, why not? Well, because we're gonna have to choose one or the other of you if you guys ever break up. And we don't want to have to choose one or the other. One runs an inn and runs the restaurant. What are we gonna do? And they're like, get over yourself. And then I had somebody ask me, like, are we gonna have to choose one of you? And I said, well, I sure hope not. I'd choose Michael and he'd choose me, you know? And then I've had people stop supporting this community because of the choice Reverend Michael and I are making. And I've had people stop talking to me. And so then that makes that fear, that ego fear creep in, because I'm thinking, but I'm really being real here and I'm really being honest. And we've done our good work and we've done our spiritual work. Our wedding vows said that we would support each other's spiritual journey, and when the time was right, that, you know, so we are in integrity. But when these other things happen as a reaction or as a fear to it, it's normal. It's information, right? So I can say, well, fear is just information. Like, it's okay. Like, it's totally like feelingless, right? No, it hurts. It feels, I can feel. It feels like pain. It feels like rejection. It feels like I'm not allowed to, like I've hurt you, or like I'm not allowed to grow. I don't know. But I just think there's nothing more important than being honest and showing up for ourselves. Because the only thing, and I think I can speak for both of us when I see, the only thing that we care about in our life is the evolution of our soul, that it may grow and expand in ways that it was meant to, not in ways that our little egos want to try to tell it to, you know? And if we can be true to that, then we're true to ourselves. And so what I know is this, that this is truth. And I know I've spoke too long, but let me just remind you of the truth, because I need to remind me of the truth, okay? The truth is that right where we are, right at this very moment, 100% of the divine has to be at every point in existence in full effect at the same moment, if it's ever going to be anywhere. If we say that God is all there is, it has to be 100% everywhere at all times, which means that there is a power and a presence for good that is loving us and caring for us in ways that we can't even fathom, that we can't even imagine. We can't even imagine the ways that this divine intelligence is caring for us. But it is right there. It's a companion. Use it. It's such a deep, abiding love for our life. That is what God is. That is what spirit is. That is what the divine is. And that is all that is the truth. We are the beloveds. And it was so great to get to see you, my beloveds. And so it is.
Well, good morning. Welcome to our YouTube experience. And thank you, Reverend Nicole. That was beautiful and poignant and invigorating, just like normal. So God bless that you're with us and you're a co-senior minister here. So I want to speak to the topic first, and then I'm going to share a little bit about some of the grief that I've been going through for this change in the way that I love Nicole and the kids. The love is still 100% there, but the change, it's just a little tweak on what it looks like. So when we face the fear, the most devastating part about facing the fear is figuring out why we're thinking about fear in the first place. Ernest Holmes, the founder of the Science of Mind, says this: when prayer removes distrust and doubt enters the field of mental certainty. Let me say that again. When prayer removes distrust and doubt, and you enter the field of mental certainty, it becomes faith. And faith is nothing more, faith is a big thing, because it's a belief in something unseen or unproven. And so that's where we get back to fear, because we're dependent on our world to give us the safety, give us the power, give us the solace. We'll say, I'll be fine as soon as that relationship is good. I'll be fine as soon as I retire. I'll be fine as soon as this damn COVID stuff is over with. But those are just all external things. And our belief is based on one basic premise. And you know me, I'm gonna tell you, we learned it a long time ago from the people that preceded all the New Thought people. And that basic premise is the old Hindu philosophy that consciousness is the ground of all being. Ernest Holmes tells us there's a powerful good in the universe and we can make use of it. But the one thing we have to do to make use of it is we have to be clear. We don't have to go do a bunch of work, but we have to have our mind clear. Because when we have a belief system that the external world is controlling our lives, it's a self-fulfilling philosophy, and that's exactly what happens to us. So if we get back to the ancient belief that the Hindus taught us that consciousness is the ground of all being, we have a different viewpoint. The ancient Greeks told us the same thing. Parmenides, the teacher of Socrates, says there's two things. There's being and there's becoming. And so paraphrase what being is. A being is that thing that's pure, that thing that will always be here, that thing that is eternal, that thing that is eternal peaceful, and that thing that can bring life into the world. Now becoming is the other side of this experience. It's our daily experience where everything is moving. We get this life, and from the moment we get this life, it's decaying to its end. We don't look the same in the mirror every day. And Parmenides says, what's the most important? Of course, being. And I want to share there's a great story from the Upanishads. It's a Hindu text too. And they have a concept there similar to being in, very similar to being in becoming. It's called the Purusha and the Prakriti. And I'll tell the story, there's two birds in this picture. There's this one bird that's flittering from branch to branch, maybe going through a lot of fear, everything like that. And this bird is the concept of Prakriti, which means when everything's changing and you're flitting through this life experience. And he spots another bird looking just like him. This other bird is sitting serenely, looks almost regal, and is just sitting there, and you can tell the contentment and the peace and power of this bird. And that's the example of the Purusha. The Purusha is this one inside of us that's totally connected to spirit, that's never going to go away. So the fears come from all the outside things we can think of. There's so many more examples. You know, one of my favorite texts, you've heard me quote from it all the time, is the Bhagavad Gita. And the Bhagavad Gita is all about that too. This is brilliant warrior Arjuna who's struggling with the external world. And he has in his chariot a representative of the Godhead, Krishna. And that whole story is about Krishna saying, don't worry about the external world, Arjuna. Go do your dharma, your sacred duty. Because all things come from me, and he was speaking from the whole Godhead, and they all return to me. So to me, when facing our fear, we can face it, and I'm not saying we shouldn't do some very responsible things. We should save for retirement. We should keep medical insurance. We should get a good job and work it hard. But understand, as Wayne Dyer would say, what you think about expands. Understand that the real beauty and power and presence and abundance in your life comes from the divine. It doesn't come from studying the world and making a decision. It doesn't come from being dependent on the world. It comes from your consciousness, and your consciousness is powerful. And so that's my recommendation to you. If you're feeling fear, go find a spiritual practice where you can get in touch with the divine and experience abundance. And if you're feeling fear, just keep doing that over and over again. The one that's right for you, not the one that people tell you to do. You find what's attracted to you and you go do that. And now I just want to share a little bit, much in line with Reverend Nicole said about the fear that I'm experiencing through this uncoupling experience, it's tough. It's tough right now for me. It's something that I thought I wouldn't be doing at this stage in my life. However, as she said, you come together to grow. And a great mentor who taught us both in ministerial school, Dr. Kathy Hearn, said a good minister has to be a reliable context for spiritual truth. And one of the rules of spiritual truth is coming together fully, completely in love to grow yourselves. And that's why you're coming together. That's why you're doing it. And so what's happened over these years is, one, I've developed a powerful, powerful best friend. We were talking the other day, and it's sort of like the Winnie, in a ways, at times it's like the Winnie and the Pooh story where one of us is Pooh and one of us is Piglet, always having each other's backs, always wanting to go and have fun, always wanting to be blessed together. Or if Pooh's going to have fun, Piglet watches his house and then he has it to come back to. But that's our life together, and that's our life together is staying our life together. As I said before, I love Nicole, I love Gabriel, and I love Haley as much as I ever have. It's just tweaked on how the external part looks at. And Nicole has taught me so much. I mean, I've learned enthusiasm from Reverend Nicole. I've learned how to stand up here without shaking and put together a good talk, project my voice to the back of the room, make sure I don't go over in time. I've learned how to be a good family member from Nicole. And I'm not saying I've achieved it 100%, but I know what it takes. And it takes about being there fully and in person for the family. And I've learned from Reverend Nicole always being there and having her back all the time. And one of the things that she's done for me is she's got me out of my head, where I can sit in an experience, and it's not my nature, that's very strong and in-depth and intense, because that's part of a relationship where in the past I would flutter away from that and just get in my own little mental world. And, you know, it's interesting because I'm sure there's people out in here and out there that have seen me go through my multitude of experiences, because I think I've been with this group 15 or 16 years now. And you show me, you've seen me grow and have my ups and downs. And yeah, and so when Reverend Nicole and I got together, that's what we got together to do, to be happy and to grow together. And I'd learned what a best friend really is. And I learned what a great co-senior minister really is, and how we bookend each other very well. And so that's my message to you, is that actually I think we're best friends. And I think when we've uncoupled this one little piece of our relationship, our friendship has grown. I think you guys are the beneficiaries because we're working much, much stronger and better as co-senior ministers. But understand that there's no choosing. As she said, if you ask me who to choose, I'll tell you Nicole and she'll tell you me. But there's no choosing that needs to happen, because you know, there's still lots of love between us. There's lots of partnership between us. And the one thing both of us do, both of us really, really love this church. And Reverend Nicole, the one thing I've learned from her is she's the one that can have the vision, and she'll be marching with the flag 10 feet in front of everyone, maybe with her to-do list to try and help her and make it happen. And today is a perfect example of it. So that's what she did, and she deserves 98% of the credit. One, for having the vision, and then having the wherewithal to move her feet and do whatever it takes. Whereas most of the other of us, mine included, would say, well, maybe we need to put that off for a week or two. Sometimes there's times when you have to have the determination of my beloved co-senior minister and just get it done. And today is a perfect example of that. And, you know, all the things that, you know, John Broderick has done us a great job, but all the innovations and the thinking about how we're doing this virtual service, that's all Reverend Nicole. That's all Reverend Nicole. She loves you so much that she's going to stay on top of it. And we're making progress at it. And we're getting compliments on how we're doing it better and better. But that's our commitment to you, because this is our beloved community. And we love you so much. And it's going to be a powerful place. It's a powerful place right now. I love the people here, and I just can't wait to see this flourish and how it develops again. Thank you. God bless you. I love you.